Monday evening.
You love ball like I do. After Dark's a must-listen.
That's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays, and welcome to a very special Christmas edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Terrence Oglesby here with me. I have Randolph Childress here with me, and this is let's call it the MVP crew, guys. Let's call it the Hall of Fame crew here, and we're going to be going through 10 teams this afternoon and breaking down what they need to ask good old Saint Nick for Christmas to be able to fix whatever ails them this season. We're going to be talking a little bit about Kentucky. We're going to be talking a little bit about Illinois, and directly by request from our own Randolph Childress, we're going to be talking about Memphis and Arizona as well. But we're going to start, guys, with one of the best teams in the country, a team that I know T.O. believes has a chance to be the best team in America when we get to the month of February. That is the Duke Blue Devils and Cooper Flag. T.O., if you are John Shire, what are you asking for from Santa Claus for Christmas?
It's kind of like asking Jeff Bezos what he wants for Christmas. Like, there's not a whole lot you can do for the man. You know what I mean? Like, when you have an embarrassment of riches at every single position, I think you just need to fast forward and continue with what you've been doing offensively. A little ball movement sure helps. I mean, you want to maybe a hot potato, if you will. That's what I'll do. Hot potato in the stocking of John Shire. A little ball movement in order to get the ball moving, then the defense moving. And then you look at what Cooper Flag can do against a closeout. We haven't really seen that all that much. So if I had to do something, I'm dropping a little hot potato right there in John Shire's stocking. That's where I'm going this Christmas.
Randolph?
He better change I think he'd want to change the NCAA rules and get William Avery, get one of his point guards on his staff and be eligible to play. That's about the only thing I think's missing from Duke's roster. They got everything else. If William Avery got some eligibility, that would be the thing I wish for if I was a Duke Blue Devil. Getting him back out there, he's the one guy I'd say that's the only concern that I have with that team. As T.O. said, they're loaded, top to bottom, depth, they defend, but I still think they're missing a point guard at a high level play at that point guard position.
Yeah, so I just said easy buckets, right? Like, they got to find a way to kind of make things a little bit easier for them, whether it's different sets that they're going to run offensively to try to get some easy looks, or like you said, Randolph, a point guard that will be able to make life easier for Cooper Flag. You know, I just feel like a lot of what they do is one-on-one stuff, or kind of get Con Knipple coming off of this off of a pin down and get him to one of those little like turnaround jumpers in the lane. It feels like a lot of the shots that they hit are tough shots as opposed to getting easy buckets. Is there anything in that?
I mean, we're saying the same thing. I just don't think it's anybody there that makes the game easier for someone else. I mean, as talented as Cooper Flag is, you want him scoring. You want Knipple scoring. You want all these guys doing what they do best. And the question that we would ask with these guys is, how many guys naturally, I think they're all sacrificing. You don't get this type of talent together and they're not sacrificing their games. But who does it naturally? Like, there's no, on a serious note, there's no Trey Jones, or, I mean, there's no quintessential point guard on this roster right now that I think if you put one of their traditional point guards on this team, I think now they jump ahead of Auburn, Tennessee, and some of these other teams. I think they would have that much of a complete roster.
T.O.?
I like that. That's kind of why I'm going with the hot potato. I'm kind of thinking, well, we can't get them a point guard, but we can get them a little ball movement.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I've made this reference when we talked about North Carolina several times so far. Like, they'd be midseason trading for a big at this point, but you can't grab one. So I'm going hot potato, just because when you don't have that natural point guard, when you move the ball and you move the defense, you can have some guys attack closeouts. And we haven't seen that so much. A lot of what they've been doing is Cooper flag, top of the key, trying to force long rotations, as opposed to where if the ball moves, you can get a late rotation coming over and they can use their athleticism around the rim. And we've seen some of that. But at the same time, that's kind of where I'm thinking. Like, no natural point guard, then you have to rely on the ball moving around the perimeter.
Yep, I agree. Are they the number 3 team in the country? Like, can they, real quick, just 15 seconds on it, TO and RC, I want your take too. Like, how far are they from Auburn right now and from Tennessee right now?
At this very moment, they are behind them. At this very moment. But this is Christmas. We're not talking about February. We're not talking about March. I think we get to March. John has shown through the time he's been the head coach there at Duke that he is capable of being a guy who's willing to adapt to his roster. And throw in mind, too, his first year they were 18th in KenPom, second year 7th, this year 3rd. And not only that, with those previous 2, they've gotten better and better and better as the season gone along. So I have complete faith that Duke's going to continue that trajectory and that trend. And no reason this team isn't the very best team come March and very capable of a national championship.
For me, they're in the conversation. For me, they're in the conversation now. I mean, they obviously beat them at home in the ACC SEC Challenge. I think they're here now. Every team somewhat has some issues. I think they're still trying to figure that how to manage that spot. Foster was starting now. He's coming off the bench. Isaiah Evans now is forcing himself into the lineup, making himself available, and forcing Shire to play him. So I think the quality they get into the depth of that team, I think that's the key to me is if Evans and even Harris or somebody else, that 10th guy can step up and force Shire to play him, then I don't think there's anybody with 10 better players on their roster than Duke Blue Devils. I don't think anybody in the country has 10 better players. Maybe Alabama, maybe. Healthy.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Let's go from one blue blood to the blue blood that took down Duke in the Champions Classic. We watched them, RC. That is the Kentucky Wildcats. If you are Mark Pope, what is it that you're asking for Christmas?
Ooh, I don't know. I think everything has to be happy and gloomy in Lexington right now. I mean, this team has exceeded expectations. I think he's come into a season. I don't know if there's a coach that's come into a season with more expectations on their shoulders than Mark Pope, and they've answered it. So it's hard really to be so critical of him because he's filled in some big shoes and he's answered in such a way at Kentucky to be where they are right now. I don't think he can ask for anything other than health and just a blessed day. I mean, I think just stay healthy and continue to do what he's doing. I mean, this team is. No one knew what they were going to be coming in. You knew they'd be experienced guys. They shoot, but I didn't think they'd be. It would because so many teams complained about coming together really early. They seem to have figured it out. So whatever the hell Mark Pope's doing, he knows a hell of a lot more about it than we do.
T.O. Muted.
You're muted.
That's crazy. I apologize. An ice bath for the entire team. The reason being is they play in the freaking SEC. In the SEC, you got to be good every single night because you look up and down their roster, and my head is really wide in this photo, but I'm going to live with that. You look up and down the SEC and how good that league is, you're going to have to stay healthy, and you're going to have a lot of consistency. And whenever you have a bunch of guys that rely on each other, to me, whenever they put this roster together, I'm like, man, these guys fit perfectly together. They'll be able to move the ball. They got defensive pieces. They've got shooting. They've got shot blocking with Amari Williams. I love the way they fit. Otego Owe has been awesome. But you're going to need a lot of those guys to stay healthy. And I think they're going to be able to because even when guys go down like Kirk Kriisa, they put the roster together in such a way that they're going to be fine for the rest of the season, no matter what. And my face is skinny again. That fires me up. So Kentucky, an ice bath, happiness, and health. That's what I hope for them.
Well, and Oglesby having a big head is actually a really good segue into the gift that I would be giving Mark Pope. And this needs a little bit of context here, okay? Every time I jump on a call or jump on one of these shows with T.O., he's always like, Big Dame had 22 tonight. Big Dame made all 8 of his free throws tonight. And I've met Big Dame, Damon Oglesby. That's the star of the Oglesby household. T.O.'s 8-year-old son, and he's
The
walking
best
around with
shooter in the
these big
house.
old chains, best shooter in the
Yeah,
house, walking
it's
around with these
possible.
big old chains on. He's walking around with swag. I see videos of him dancing. So I said, what Kentucky needs is for Jackson Robinson to have the confidence of Damon Oglesby. I think the one thing that this team is kind of
Yeah, he
missing
does.
is like a guy at the end of the game where you just give the ball to him and say, get out of the way and go get us one, right? Like, you know, you can get shots out of their offense, but and I love Otega Owe. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that the reason why Kentucky is as good as they are is because of what Otega Owe brings. But I think too many times, RC, you'll see them at the end of a game run a set where you're getting an open three in the corner for Otega Owe. And like, that shot's fine throughout the course of a game. I don't know if I want to like win or lose with an open jump shot from a guy who is not really a shooter. He can make shots, but he's not really a shooter. If that makes sense. I just think they need Jackson Robinson, who's probably, I would say, the most talented guy on the roster. If he is able to be that breakdown one-on-one, get out of the way, go get us one guy, I think that adds another notch to the belt that Kentucky has, another tool to the toolbox that Mark Pope has at his disposal. RC, you agree?
I don't know if he can do it. I don't think that's Jackson Robinson's game. I mean, just breaking you down off the bounce. So I wish he would. I think everybody wants a guy like that. I don't think many teams have a guy like that. I mean, if we were to go down the top 25 teams in the country, more times than not, we'd be like, hey, do they have a guy? I call it a closer. Do they have a closer, a guy they feel comfortable with putting the ball in his hands and making it go? And I don't know if they do. And Otega's going to have to deal with that because you're going to have, with the shooting that they have, he's the one guy you're going to be like, man, we're going to have to get out there late to him. So he's going to get those shots. It is what it is. But I love what they're doing, man. You got to be impressed with Kentucky.
All right.
From watching Kentucky.
T.O., the question is twofold. One, did I get the scouting report on your son correct? And two, are you on the same, like, how badly does Kentucky kind of need that breakdown guy?
The confidence for my son, absolutely correct. The other thing is when it comes to confidence for Jackson Robinson, he hasn't been a great 3-point shooter. He was very good last year for BYU. It just, for some reason, it hasn't quite clicked in the Kentucky uniform, but he provides so much value elsewhere. You do need a guy at the end of the game. However, I think one of the strengths and vice versa, one of the weaknesses, as you guys alluded to, is not having that one guy that you're going to. They have a lot of guys that can make shots. Like Kirk Kreese has been a proven shooter off the bench. But this year he's not off to a great start, only 26% from three. Jackson Robinson, only 30% from three this year. Last year he's 35, 36. But you got Kobe Brea, who's the best shooter in college basketball. He's fourth in the country percentage wise, but he's got 64 attempts through how many games? 11. Like, dude's getting rocks up and he's shooting out good percentages. I think the fact that it's so many different guys, that's the strength of this team. But a little confidence never hurt anybody, I can assure you.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that college basketball season is back in full swing, I need to remind you guys about our partners over at Autograph, where the real college hoops fans reside. The Autograph app curates all of the best content for every sports fan and every sports fan's favorite team. Podcasts, blogs, analysis. It's all there without the nonsense from the talking heads that don't actually watch the games. And there's a bonus. Consuming content on the Autograph app earns you coins that can be redeemed for rewards for things like no-fee tickets or signed jerseys from your favorite players. There are a couple new features in the app that I need to let you guys know about as well. Autograph Replay gives you a quick-hitting summary of the previous day's news so you can keep track of all the important things going on with your favorite teams. And Autograph Rooms allows you to chat in real time with the true voices of fandom within your team's community. So go to the link in the description or scan that QR code on your screen and download the Autograph app. All right, we're sticking in the SEC. We're gonna head to a program that a lot of Kentucky fans are going to be very well aware of and very familiar with. That is the Arkansas Razorbacks and John Calipari. And I will tell you guys this. I'll go first on this one because I think that what John Calipari should be asking for Christmas are coordinators. He needs special assistant to the head coach, John Beeline, out there to be running his offense. And he needs special assistant to the head coach, Luke Yaklich, running out there running his defense, or Chris Lowry running his defense, or somebody out there running his defense so that he can just be the CEO. Randolph, let him go out there and do all the CEO stuff, do all the Coach Cal stuff, do all the recruiting stuff, get out there in the press conferences, get Carl Anthony Towns on speakerphone, go do all that stuff. Go be Coach Cal. Let somebody else go out there that actually knows what they're doing to coach his team up.
Damn, Rob, you went at my man.
Yeah,
Cal
I was
hard
about to
today.
say, he actually knows what
Like,
that's
damn,
that's
this Merc, he put some coal in my man in Coach Cal's stocking. Hey, Kyle just need Anthony Davis to come back, man, to be eligible to play. That's what he needs. He need Anthony Davis. He need Anthony Davis to come back and suit up, man, for Arkansas to win him one, and then everybody leave him the hell alone until he ride off into retirement, man. Kyle gonna be Kyle, man. This is what he do. It's just a matter of how long before people get frustrated with it in Arkansas with the amount of money they spending, man. But Anthony Davis, man, drop that Laker uniform, come back in the tournament time and play for your Coach Cal, man. That's what Coach Cal need for Christmas.
He'll
Scotty
trip up the
Thurman,
stairs
Carlos
of the
Williams.
airplane and get hurt. You hear me? He'll trip up the stairs of the airplane and get hurt. Anthony Davis. He got wheels for about 40 games a year now. Arkansas.
Hey, I'm only asking. That's why, hey, T.O., that's why I said save him to March. You don't even bring him out there until March. He doesn't show up until they get their seeding in the tournament, and then you get him for 6 games. That's all you need him for.
So you're wanting a Joel Embiid situation there at Arkansas with Anthony Davis, is what you're telling me.
Anthony
Okay,
Davis,
I respect that.
For my man Cal. So Cal, y'all can get off my man Cal back. Cal living his best life.
I want some Valium for everybody in Arkansas to freaking relax. They've lost 2 games. Like, they're not that bad. They're just not on the national radar, so everybody's shitting on them. I don't understand why that is. So, like, Arkansas is not a bad team. They just beat Michigan in a barn burner in New York. Everybody needs to back off a little bit on this. When Aduthiero has turned into a big-time player, Boogie Fland has shown that he can score with the best of them. Ivisic is shooting north of 50% at 7'2". They've got good players. Even DJ Wagner, who everybody's been down on, he's at 48 from 2, 42 from 3. What are we doing? Why are we panicking on Arkansas right now? They've had 2 losses, sure, but it was against a Baylor team that at the beginning of the season, everybody's figuring each other out, and they played well. Lost by 5. The Illinois lost neutral by 13 points. I get why that was a little bit upsetting, but, like, I don't think we should be panicking on Arkansas. There's a lot of talent on that team. And, guys, until I'm proven otherwise, talent still wins. Give the entire state of Arkansas some Valium. Give all the media members a little bit of grace with Coach Cal, and just take the microphone away from him after the games. And I know he loves that microphone, but, like, take that away. Let your players keep playing. They've been doing fine. I don't know what the panic's about.
We gotta let everybody in the state of Arkansas hug that teddy bear that you got on the chair behind you. That's what they need, to be able to just calm down a little bit and hug that teddy bear.
They do.
But we're gonna
need right there.
We're gonna stay in the SEC. We're gonna talk about Florida. We're gonna talk about the Gators. T.O., they have had as good of a start as I think Todd Golden could have possibly imagined coming into the season. Maybe not the most difficult schedule anyone's ever seen, but they got a nice win over North Carolina in the state of North Carolina. So what does Todd Golden need? What do the Gators need? How can you take this team to the next level?
I think RC was right with his gripe before the game, before this show. We picked all these really, really good teams that don't really have much wrong with it. What are we doing? The Gators are good. Big fan of them. Offensively, guys, the fact that they attack the offensive glass on shots they actually miss, they're getting over 40% of their misses. That's an asinine number. And they have size, they have physicality, they're really, really tough, and they're really, really good. The only thing I would kind of pick at, and it's really not much, can we get a Kickstarter for Will Richard to start knocking down some threes? Because not shooting the ball all that well this year, and he's traditionally been a mid-30s guy from 3. They start getting him to knock down shots. And, man, I don't know how you guard Florida at times, because there's just so many weapons on the floors, enough floor spacing. Let's get my man Will Richards some more reps so he can get going and get some confidence going.
Randolph?
In the last game against Carolina, he got that confidence going. Need a few more of those games to start yumping those percentages.
Yumping?
Listen,
Did you just say
yumping, humping, whatever. Get those percentages.
Yumping those percentages.
hey, T.O., the crazy thing is they're 11-0, and you can nitpick with the schedule a little bit, but when you watch them play, they are good. I've been on the Walton Clayton Jr. Bandwagon all year long. I think he's played as well as any guard in the country, and what he's meant and what he's done for that team. Florida's the real deal, and they're going to be. I think they'll finish among the top 3 teams in the SEC this year. That's how highly I think of them if they stay healthy. They play a little bit of a throwback style in the sense they got 3, I think, really good guard play, 3,000-point scorers in their backcourt. Front court, they just keep rotating those guys in. It doesn't matter who's on the floor. They've been a hell of a team. They've been fun to watch. I've had the chance to see those guys early in the year, and I've been impressed with them all year long. So I don't think they need anything other than to keep. I think the best thing for them is just to keep their head down, keep their shades on. They need some shades. Keep their shades on. Stay clear. Just watch everybody else. Let all the attention go to Auburn. Let all the attention go to Tennessee. Let all these teams, Kentucky, get all the noise. I think Florida's just steady, just creeping along there, man. And I think they're going to be there when it's all said and done because of their physicality and style.
That was my reaction to it, Terrence. That was my reaction too. Just gonna skate right on by that one, but I will say this. All right, so Florida might be like a top 7 or 8 team in America, right? There's an argument to be made that they are the 5th best team in the SEC. So I'm just gonna say that with that context, they need Will Richard to be better. I think they need more, and I would make the argument they need Elijah Martin to be shooting a little bit better too. Like they need more consistency out of those 2 guys as shooters and scorers, because so much of what Todd Golden does is analytically driven, and we're going to shoot threes and we're going to pace in space. We're going to get offensive rebounds. We're going to do all that kind of stuff, right? I just think they need those guys to be making. You can't have your 2 of your 3 best players shooting below 34% from 3 and be able to compete with the likes of Auburn and Tennessee and Kentucky and Alabama at the top of one of the best, maybe the best conference that we've ever seen in college basketball. Randolph, you asked for bad teams. You asked for teams that aren't one of the top 3, 4, 5, 6 in the country. I'm going to give you one of those right now. The Memphis Tigers. All right. If you are Penny Hardaway, if you are sitting here, you got smacked by Brian Hodgson in Arkansas State at home. You lost by double digits. You did go on the road and get a win over a Clemson team. And do we know anyone that played at Clemson? Randolph?
I know a guy.
That might be upset about losing at home to the Memphis Tigers.
How's Vassar doing this year?
They're 500. 500 in the Liberty League. Yeah, a nice. Okay. They had a big win over Union. Union's a good team in the league. Knocked off Hobart at the buzzer. So yeah, not bad.
Okay.
You never heard of any of those schools. Randolph, what would you do if you're Penny Hardaway? What are you asking for?
I think I need to get Penny and Jeff on a Zoom so we can just discuss this and hash all this out. We need a kumbaya meeting, a meeting of the minds of Jeff Goodman and Penny Hardaway, just to hash things out so Jeff can formally apologize to Penny as Penny being a top 25 team. I don't get I don't like the way you even started this out, Rob, insinuating something's wrong. Yeah, they had that one little slip up. Memphis is winning, and Clemson, Little John got the dub. There's another couple of games coming up we'll discuss a little later, but right now I'm all in on Memphis. I told you, I think Memphis is going to make it to the tournament this year. So, I don't see anything. They don't need to do anything other than come on field to 68, let me referee Jeff, and let me referee Penny. That's the only thing Memphis needs to do right now. Just jump on. Let's get all this. Let's figure this out so Jeff can formally apologize to Penny.
So my hottest take is that Memphis has a real chance to end up being like a top 5 or 6 seed in the tournament this year. Like I think that they're really good. Just for context, I wanted to call them bad because they just beat Clemson in Clemson, so I could troll T.O. and make him upset. That was my entire point there, which is why he's making that face. Too. Go ahead, T.O. What does Memphis need?
Respect. They need some respect from you. They need respect from Goodman. They need respect from the national media. Hey, look, respect is my first gift. but I can't give that. That's not like you can't give respect you can't put that in a stocking. So what I'm going to do is, have you seen all these commercials that seem to pop up on my Instagram feed all the time for like nootropics and like focus enhancing gummy bears and all these stuff? That's why I'm going to put it in their stockings, because like whenever they play good teams, Memphis is awesome. They're not kind of good. They're awesome. Whatever they beat UConn in OT, beat Michigan State, beat Clemson on the road in a tough game. And then they got Virginia coming up. They got Mississippi State. They got Mississippi, all of which they're favored in. I think they win those games. My problem with Memphis is when they get into the American Conference. Are they going to be able to hold their concentration throughout the course of the year? Because we've seen them slip up already against Arkansas State. I think Memphis is super talented. One of the most talented teams in college basketball. Are they going to be able to withstand the duration of conference play, which is going to be I don't know what the American Conference is, 18 games? Dude, you better lock in, because you're going to have to generate your own energy on a given night. And if you're not able to do that, you're going to take some losses that aren't going to look good come Selection Sunday. So if you're able to keep your focus, there's you a little bag of nootropics. Put them in there for you.
Yeah, look.
Hey, Tio, they do need Clemson to respond too. They need that win to matter, right? They like a lot of that's out of their hand. They need that Clemson. They need Clemson to kind of respond. They've dropped a couple in a row here, so they need that win to have some lasting power to help them out with that. Because once they get into conference play, I don't know where they're going to go.
It's all good, man. Look, they got a win over a top 5 team in America on the neutral court already. That first round win in Maui. They beat UConn, top 5 team in America, national title contender, 3-peat.
Well, unfortunately, Rob, they don't keep you there. They don't keep them up there at the end of the year. They just judge them where they are. So we'll see. We ain't dealing with you and your UConn. That's what we needed to do, is have you talk about UConn.
Yeah, you don't want me to do that. I'll get in trouble.
Hang the banner.
Dan Hurley
beat UConn. Hang the banner.
We're already in enough trouble with UConn, thanks to Jeff Goodman, raging lunatic, Dan Hurley, that whole fiasco. No, for Memphis, like I would just say, take away their phones, man. Like, don't let these dudes read their press clippings. Or if you do, just send them all the shit where it's me saying mean things about Memphis or Goodman saying mean things about Memphis. Because as soon as these guys start feeling themselves and being like, yeah, we're good, we're like that, that's when those losses start coming. So make sure that these guys feel like they're insulted at every point during the day. Because PJ Haggerty's been a first-team All-American caliber good. And Tyrese Hunter has been almost as good as PJ Haggerty. And they have the length and athleticism and shooting. And as long as they keep those two guys keep knocking down shots, Memphis is going to win a lot of basketball games this year. We're going to move to the Big Ten for the next 5 teams that we are going to be discussing. And I'm curious what you have to say about this one, Tio, because I think that there's one very specific player that Purdue could have added from the portal this year if they had gone into the portal that would fix a lot of the problems that they have this season, and that would be Lamont Butler. If you took Lamont Butler and put him on this Purdue roster, I think that Purdue would be looking at being a top 8 team in America, as opposed to being like, yeah, they'll be good in the Big Ten, but I can't see them really doing any damage once you get out of the Big Ten.
So you would go the super small lineup at the 1, 2, 3 with Braden Lamont, Fletcher Lawyer. I'm not sure I agree with that one. Some rim protection would be nice, because defensively, like, not great, guys. Not great. Block percentage down in the 290s nationally. They need some rim protection, and they don't have much. And they're a position-based defensive team. We know that. So a lot of times they're getting over to those spots and chesting up before they have the opportunity to block shots. But I think, they need somebody around the rim to be a little bit more assertive blocking shots. And I'm not really sure that's in Trey Kaufman-Wren's bag. I love this Purdue team. I think they're really good. I think they're really fun to watch. Braden Smith this year has been top tier in terms of point guards. I think he's the best pure point guard in college basketball. And I'm not backing down from that statement all season. That's just going to continue happening. They just don't, on defense, who's a guy that scares everybody else inside of 10 feet? There's not really one. And you have to make up for that with defensive positioning, which they do. But sometimes you play like a Texas A&M that's big and physical, that's willing to attack the rim and just try to bulldog their way in there. You need that extra protection around the rim, and we've kind of seen the results.
I think they try to play as many games as they can at home. I worry about this team because of that when they get outside of Mackey Arena. I think they're just the difference in that team and that style of play when they're home. They tend to feed off that. I've I'm curious to see what this team does in the Big Ten, particularly when they won the road. Um, they just seem like there's a different team because again, you're going to attack them, Tio, like you said. You're not fearful of getting to the rim. You're not fearful of anybody crawling up in you, and they still have to answer that. We've still seen glimpses of them relapses when the pressure's mounting and teams gotten after them a little bit. We saw it happen against A&M. We saw it happen with Penn State. So maybe someone else, maybe an extra ball handler. You talk about maybe another point guard, another ball handler, decision maker, maybe a bigger wing would be something that I wish from. I don't know which player I'd say fits that mold for them right this minute, but that's the only concern that I have with Purdue. I think they're a balanced team, but just another handler, take some pressure off of Smith that can help initiate offense. Rim protection, either you take charges because there's no shot blocker there, but that would be the only thing I say Purdue. But biggest thing I'd say they need right.
Yeah, they kind of get big boyed a little bit against these bigger, more physical, more athletic teams, and you could see that. To me, it was really obvious with Fletcher Lawyer and with Trey Kaufman-Renn. Like they need those two guys. They need somebody at those spots to be a little bit tougher, a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical, and to be able to handle some of that contact. Let's go to Illinois. Tio, I know you love Illinois. I know that you are a big fan of Kasparas Yakashonis. I would love to hear you try to pronounce Kasparas Yakashonis again. Normally you're a 50% dunker and you're about 50% on pronouncing his name correctly. So what would you if you're Brad Underwood, what are you asking for Christmas for this Illini team?
You know what? Like I think they're tough. I do know that they're young. And to be honest with you, I want to speed this thing up for them and get to conference play. The reason being, I feel like that roster, maybe a time machine. I feel like I gave that to somebody last year. I can't remember. Maybe a time machine to jump ahead to Big Ten play because I think Illinois is going to be up there towards the top of the league. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that their personnel, Yakashonis, part of that personnel, Ivisic, another guy, Will Riley, another guy, bigger, longer, can shoot over the top. They're going to be good positionally because Underwood's a terrific coach. I want to get to Big Ten play because I feel like that roster is perfectly suited for everything that league's about. Playing in the half court, tough defensively, good length, enough athleticism, and size for days. So speed it up. Let me get to Big Ten play.
I think they're probably the most talented team in the Big Ten.
I agree.
The only thing I would say is, if I'm nitpicking here, maybe some more athleticism in the front court. I know they have length, but I think they're the most talented team in the Big Ten, and I'd be shocked, provided if everybody stays healthy and there are no major injuries. I don't see why Illinois wouldn't win the Big Ten.
I think that they're going to win the Big Ten. I think that they have the highest ceiling of anybody in the Big Ten. What I would say is just 40 pounds of muscle to spread between Yakashonis and Will Riley. Like that, those two guys are going to be, when they get to like 21, 22 years old and they're able to be a little bit more physical, they are going to be incredible. I think they're both going to be really, really good players in the NBA. And since we can't take the junior version of them and pluck them into this season, if you could just get them a little bit more physical. I thought what we saw in the Tennessee game was Yakashonis kind of struggled a little bit with what Jemai Mashak does defensively. And a lot of people are going to struggle with Jemai
Everybody
Mashak.
struggles with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but just a little bit of toughness and physicality. Because if you look at the teams, I'm thinking of this in the context of like, how can Illinois get to a Final Four? And at some point, they're going to play a team like a Texas A&M or an Auburn or a Tennessee or like a Marquette or something. Well, like one of these teams with big, physical, tough, strong, old guards and old wings. And I think that that's kind of where their kryptonite is a little bit, so to speak. Let's go to Michigan State, because Michigan State, T.O., is a team that you picked to win the Big Ten in the preseason. And a lot of people laughed at you. And I don't think very many people are
I'm used to that at
right
this
now.
point, gentlemen. I'm used to people hating on me in November and then coming back and apologizing en masse come February and March. I'm used to that. More specifically, Auburn fans. Last year after Yale took them down. Other times, there's been a lot of other predictions. I'm a big victory lap guy, as you guys well know. You're welcome, world. Michigan State is that good, I feel like. They're just tough. you look up and down their roster, you want them to shoot the ball better, but that's not really where their identity is anyway. So you maybe some 3-point shooting, get them a shooter's gun. I'm sure they already have it, and they probably have 7,000 managers to rebound for them if they so desire. Give me some perimeter shooting. Let these guys keep playing the way they are, physical and playing and doing a lot of those things. But this is not a team that settles for a ton of threes. You know what? One of the lowest teams in the country in terms of the percentage of their threes as opposed to field goal attempts. So that's not what they do. So they don't have to rely on it that much. Continue rebounding the basketball, continue being tough defensively. But if you could turn it up to where you don't even have to, they're shooting 28% from three. You don't have to shoot spectacular percentages. If you can get in that 33, 34 range, I think that'll buoy you up at least to compete. And then your toughness will take care of the rest.
Randolph?
You know what they need, T.O.? You know, at the All-Star games, when the three ball counts as 4 points or 5 points or count more, for the amount of threes that they make, that's what they need. They just need the few that they knock down to count for like 4, 5, or 6 points. Everything else they got, they tough as hell. I mean, athleticism with guard play, they got it all, man. But shooting, that's just saying, I don't know what. It feels like we've been saying that year after year about this Michigan State team, but they obviously are playing a lot better and a lot more fun to watch than they were a year ago. Started out rough. We saw them at the Champions Classic, and we were like, oh, okay. And then since then, they've been playing a lot better. So, again, I want them to make more shots, but the ones that they're making, I still commend them because they're not settling for just taking shots and just jacking them up. They're just not a really good three-point shooting team. And I think inevitably that'll cost them in the end. But they're playing through it and they're figuring out they're just not forcing shots as well. So Tom Izzo is my favorite coach. I've been on record saying that. Come on, coach, you got to get me some shooters in there, man. I want some guys knocking down some shots. But Sparty's got them going.
You know who could shoot on that roster? You know who can make shots on that roster? Jace Richardson. Get him more minutes. Get him more playing time. Why is he still coming up? Why is he still averaging 16 minutes a game off the bench? Let's get him up to 22, 23, 25 minutes a game. He's your shooter right there. He's a guy that can make a difference. I agree with both of you guys. Like that's going to be the difference maker, right? If they can get up to because last year, didn't they start out last year really poorly shooting as well? And then they finished the year once everything was all said and done, they finished at like 36% or so. So they were able to kind of figure it out. And I think getting Frankie Fiddler going, he was a guy that was a career 37% 3-point shooter, and he's 6 for 32 on the season. Kind of getting some of those guys going a little bit, I think makes a huge difference. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up to the second against the spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description. How about Arizona, Randolph? This was you circled this team. You specifically requested Arizona to be able to give them a birthday present or give them a Christmas present. Tommy Lloyd needs a lot. What are you giving him? Where do you start?
On the first half of the year, you get nothing. We ain't even putting a tree in the house. We not even nobody. No gifts, no nothing. We just everything's out. We just fast forward into the following year. That's what we're doing with Arizona right now. With Christmas, we ain't getting a tree, no gifts, no nothing. We just moving forward. We're gonna celebrate New Year and we're gonna hit the reset button. Fellas, where do you start? Like seriously, where do you start? I mean, this team was what 10th in the country right now, and I don't even know where to begin to start. I mean, to how do you fix what's going on in Arizona? And I think that they have their question marks. I wondered how honest Tommy Lloyd would be if we were to literally ask him what's going on, what does he feel going on in his locker room and with his players right now. So Christmas gifts, nobody's getting the gifts right now. We need. I'm not even putting a tree up in the house right now. We just gonna fast forward it, get ready for next 2020 to 25.
Go ahead, Rob. I'm still thinking through this one. Go ahead.
I think you need Krivas. There's two things you need, right? You need Krivas to take the leap that we all expect him to get healthy and to be able to give you that kind of anchor in the post. So much of what Tommy Lloyd wants to do and what Mark Few was doing, what Tommy kind of copied his offense off of was having those guys that you could run. You run those ball screens, you get those duck-ins, you get touches to the guys in the post and kind of play out of that, right? And they don't have that option right now because Toby Awaka is not a post scorer. He's more of a hustle guy and a rebounder, and Henry Visar is more of a space it out, stretch big than he is kind of a low post guy. You got to get Krivas going. You got to find a way to get him making the leap that a lot of us expected him to make based off of the hype that he had this offseason. And the other part of it is Jaden Bradley. He's got to be better. I would say that the biggest thing that you can do is I don't know if they have a GM. I don't know if they have someone kind of monitoring the portal, but you got to get someone that's going to be better at evaluating some of these transfers that are coming in. Because if you look at his best teams, there were pros all over the wings, whether it was your boy Pelle Larson, T.O., whether it was Ben Matherin, whether it was Dalen Terry. There have been big athletic wings all over Arizona's roster the last couple of years. And you look at what they got this year, and it's not KJ Lewis. It's not Anthony Del Orso. I don't think that Trey Townsend's going to be a guy that is going to end up flying up draft boards at any point. So you're kind of built this team where you don't have a point guard. You don't really have a 5-man. They're so important to the offense that you run. And then you're kind of relying on Caleb Love to be something that he's not. Caleb Love, if Caleb Love's like your number 2 guy where if everything else kind of breaks down, it's like, all right, this isn't working. Let's see if Caleb's hot tonight. Instead of being the guy that you kind of have to rely on to carry you through games, that's not a good situation to be in. So there's a lot. They need a lot of presence. The wish list for Tommy Lloyd is like 3 pages long.
Rob, if I can't count on a guard that's been in the national championship game, a 5th-year guy that's a former player of the year, if I can't count, like that resume says number 1 option. So if he can't even be a number 2, then we're in trouble, right? Like this is because I think Jaden Bradley's probably been their most consistent player on both ends of the floor compared to some of these other guys.
But he's not a point guard. He's not.
No.
He's not the guy.
I agree with you.
He's not the guy that's going to make life easier for everybody else. Like, he's a really good defender, and he's someone that's going to be electric in transition. And I thought against UCLA, he was their best player against UCLA. But the problem was he's not someone that you want to rely on taking 15 shots a game and running ball screens.
Hey, you just answered it. You just said he was their best player. That's the problem. Like, that's the problem. Like, he's their best player. Exactly. That's why we're sitting here.
Give my man a 5-game stretch where he's shooting about 40% so we can get around 33%. And I think they'll be, look, got smacked by Duke, got smacked by Wisconsin, 5-point loss to Oklahoma, who's a lot better than people realize, lost to West Virginia in OT and lost by 3 to UCLA. Context matters. However, you're 4-5. You need to start stringing together some wins. I thought Keshad Johnson last year was so good for them. And I thought they might have thought that Trey Townsend could have jumped in and been that kind of guy. I don't know that he's the same kind of explosive guy. Trey's been fine, but there is no Pelle Larson on this team now where you're going to shoot crazy percentages from 3 and defend 1 through 4. So how do you make up for that? You hope Caleb Love really catches fire here soon. So that's that. I don't have much for you on this one. They just got. They've been close. They've been closer since November 27th. They just got to put it all together, and they got to have their best player play better.
Yeah, you kind of summed up the whole issue right there. You summed it up perfectly, right? Like Pelle Larson and Kashad Johnson were the perfect kind of role players that you need for what Tommy Lloyd is looking for. Like guys that can space the floor, guys that can defend, that are switchable up and down the lineup, that are old, that are veterans, and like that's not what they have right now. Like, I would make the argument that there were some misevaluations going on with some of the transfers that came in, and it's hard. Like you get a week to kind of figure out if these transfers are the right fit, and then you got to go out and get the players to come in. Sometimes you're still doing that while you're in the midst of the NCAA tournament. So like I empathize with that. And then you went from Umar Balo to Mateus Krivas, which I think that Arizona thought was like, okay, we can make this work because Krivas should be good, but he never made the leap. And then you lose Kai Boswell and you don't really replace him with it. It just you saw what worked last year. They did not replace the pieces that they lost that made it work. And I think that is the core of the issue. Last one we're going to do, guys, the old Pac-12 rival for Arizona, UCLA. They're sitting here at one loss on the season. They look like a Big Ten title contender. And I think that they've kind of maybe outperformed a lot of people's expectations, and they're doing it really quietly, RC. If there's anything that you would add if you're Mick Cronin, what would it be?
First of all, for Mick Cronin, I'm going to add that little foam middle finger that comes up for all of you that was doubting my man, that was crapping on him last year when they finished one game below 500. Remember that, all of you. That's what I'm giving all of the fans for Cronin, Mick. That little foam middle finger for you. No, it's. I'm serious. He's. I'm just happy for him, man. I've known him since Larry Davis was a coach of mine that was with him at Cincinnati. So his whole transition over there, it was never like a hire that got not the amount of respect and attention that it deserves. I've always been a big fan of his, and just watching how he's worked, and for them to respond the way they did last year and lose the talent that they've lost as well over the last couple of years. He's had injuries. He's dealt with a lot, but I'm just happy for them in a sense. They just got to keep your hard hat on, man, and keep plugging along. They hadn't gotten anywhere yet. I would just give them a hard hat, keep that mentality, that grind, that physicality that they play with, and keep it going.
A little bit more consistent offense. Outside of that, what can you really complain about? Them dudes guard.
Man,
we've talked about they're forcing turnovers on 27% of their defensive possessions, and that's nothing new. Randolph alluded to it. Mick's a hell of a coach, and he puts these guys in position defensively to be badasses. So that's going to continue no matter what. Defense travels, and they've had guys really step up in that aspect. I feel like Kobe Johnson. He was great at USC. He goes over and plays for Mick, and it's like it gets even better. So. Defensively, they've been great. Offensively, it's just kind of been – it's been good. It hasn't been great. So let me get a little bit more consistent offense. And I don't see them losing a ton of games in the Big Ten. I mean, besides the travel, I think, that's one thing we're going to notice throughout conference play, especially in the Big Ten. We're going to see a lot more games, even though there's so much fewer. You're only getting about 30, 35 games in college. But you're going to see schedule losses where they're on the East Coast, have to fly back. And then there's going to be those situations happen. But outside of that, like just a little bit more, consistent offense. UCLA's tough. Gosh, they're running into a North Carolina team that's desperate for a tournament resume type of win. And they get through this one. They got Gonzaga, and then conference play starts. UCLA's tough defensively. It's almost like Mick just fits the Big Ten, one would assume.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree with all of that. And the way that I kind of phrased it was they need one of Sebastian Mack or Dylan Andrews to get back to what they were in the last 6 weeks of last season. Dylan Andrews was the best guard in the Pac-12 for the last 6 weeks of last season. And to get him going at that level again, or Sebastian Mack going at the level that we saw early on last season, one of those two guys needs to take a step forward. Both of them have kind of regressed a little bit offensively. As soon as one of them takes a step forward and kind of puts it all together, I think that they're going to make a leap. That's a really, really good UCLA team that's going to be around for a while. Who would have had maybe UCLA and Oregon playing in the Big Ten tournament championship game this year? T.O.
Possible.
That could happen.
It's possible.
That could happen. That could happen. Listen, guys, one thing I will say is that when it comes to getting you 2 Christmas presents, you won't be getting anything at all from me. Not at all. Coal in the stocking for RC, coal in the stocking for TO. TO, I will be sending your son just something to make sure that he, keep him in line a little bit. Maybe a
him
hoop to
humble.
be able to get some shots. Yeah, keep him humble. Hoop to get some shots up. So
That kid is anything but humble.
yeah, I wonder where he gets it from.
Hey,
I
you
wonder
should
where
see
he
his
gets
dad. You should see his dad.
His
Theo.
mother.
His dad.
His mother.
Listen, gentlemen, this has been a pleasure. Have a great holiday. Okay, enjoy it. Spend some time with your families. To safe travels out there to Sweden. RC, I don't know where you're traveling to, but please be safe. Enjoy the holidays. Have some fun, and make sure that you drink quite a bit of eggnog, because everybody needs eggnog during the holidays. For Terrence Oglesby, for Randolph Childress, my name is Rob Dauster. We will see you guys again